think that maybe we are all living parallel lives. We are all living in the same world, but we are disconnected. It's easy to be in a rush and to be self-absorbed. And as we go about living life, our steps lead us into different directions.
Fire, 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 fire.
But eventually, our destinies converge. There's a missing piece of ourselves that other people carry. In some weird way, we all complete each other. Our lives aren't meant to be individualistic. Stories are intertwined in ways we can't imagine. They are threads that bind us together. We may be in different realities, but our universes depend on each other. And when we finally recognize this, we discover the pieces we've been searching for in the hands of strangers. We then understand that our journeys were never meant to be alone. But a collective odyssey where our parallel lives make each other complete.
Fire, 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 fire.
They wanna judge me, I'll testify. Catch me on Insta, I'm verified. They want me quiet, I amplify. I'm on my way to the best thing that you've ever seen. You know that they wanna judge me, I'll testify. Catch me on Insta, I'm verified. They want me quiet, I amplify. I'm on my way to the best thing that you've ever seen.
Style ni all of the above. Tunaitaga style, style, fashion, luku. Majina ni mob, but form ni ile ile. Tunavaa vile si uvaa juu tunataka kufanana. Inatufanya tusikie tuko pamoja.
Oh, what a feeling to have you close to me. Oh, what a feeling to have you close to me. Oh, what a feeling to have you close to me. Oh, what a feeling to have you close to me.
Nakuwaza usiku. Nakuota mchana. Kila mahali naenda. Nataka uwe karibu nami.
Close to me. Oh, what a feeling to have you close to me. Oh, what a feeling. a feeling to have you close to me. Oh, what a feeling to have you close to me.
Lugha yetu tunaibonga juu ni sexy. Nikisikia hata nikuwe mtaa gani, nitajua watu kama mimi wako area. Hiyo ni code. Na si wengi wako rada. Masilva unaziweka kwa shingo juu. Kama hujai kuwa na kitu maisha yako yote, wazazi wako hawajui title deed na kaaje, na society inaitamani umetoka low income neighborhood, utagrab at the closest representation of wealth you can, ukipata chance.
Close to me. Have you close to me. Oh, what a feeling to have you close to
Kila
me.
mali naenda.
Oh, what a feeling to have you close to me. Oh, what a feeling to have you close to me.
Tuna try to feel like we have something. Na style yetu ndio one of the few things we own in this city. Style inamaanisha vitu mob to many people. Kwa wengine ni nguo, kwa wengine ni vile unabonga, kuna wale wanaitumia ku make statement, kwa wengine ni vile unatembea, vile una relax at the end of a long day, vile tu unajibeba. Na hii area yetu, style ni all of the above. Tunaitaga style, style, fashion, luku. Majina ni mob, but form ni ile ile. Tunavaa vile si uvaa.
khaki shorts and colonial hats and safari boots, and that's what we really wanted to shift, because just that stereotype and that perception we really wanted to change. The Creative DNA fashion program is for young fashion designers. And if you see the designs here, out there, there's a lot of streetwear. And there's a huge relationship between fashion and Nairobi as a city. That's why we got many briefs from different creative directors, and we really tried to steer away from the stereotypical representation of Kenya of safari, a certain type of dressing style when you're going on safari. And we decided that we would focus on neighborhoods. If you saw this, same thing. If you Google Kenya, a lot of the times it will be the Masai Mara or the beach or fancy hotels. But then it's people like us living in neighborhoods. That's why we decided we have to shoot it in neighborhoods. And then also the voiceover. Yours was in English, but then for us, slang is really important. Our Kenyan slang is sheng. That's what most people speak. It's a mix between Swahili and English. So we made sure that our voiceover artist was actually doing it in slang, something that everybody speaks. You saw about the aspirational story, that as much as, it doesn't matter if you're coming from a low-income neighborhood, we all aspire to, wearing silver, looking nice. So it was really about shifting those perceptions that we do have a streetwear culture, we do have young people in Kenya. It's not just white people in hats going on safari, and it was very important for us to portray that. And I think did we succeed?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So before I take you to the audience, I just want to ask you something, Derek. Just tell us a bit about your process when you make your film. I see it's so fancy and so clean. For a moment there, I felt like I should have been in the film too.
Yeah. Okay. Hello, everyone. So, just the backstory of that film. When we made it, we actually didn't know that we were making a fashion film. I always have this thing that when I travel to a new place, I always want to take photographs of whichever people that I find interesting in that city. So that was actually my first trip to Cape Town. And then I reached out to those guys. Initially I was supposed to take pictures of them. And then the more time, because I asked to spend some time with them before we do the photo shoot. And the more time I spent with them, I just found them very interesting. Like they're these confident kids that are wearing stuff that I personally wouldn't wear. And I think if I were to wear that, you probably would not see it as cool. I think it takes someone and they are full confident to wear something, and for someone to be like, oh, I want to wear what Joe is wearing because of how he wears it and how he carries himself. And I think I wanted to visualize that, and for people to look at those kids and say, that's actually really cool, because of how they are presenting themselves. And it then really goes on to the name of like Life of the Extremely Beautiful. It's actually a name of an album, because one of the guys is an artist, so he had an album, and we ended up making that campaign for his album, like a promo for his album. And it really goes on to show that, that saying that beauty is within you, and it only takes you for everyone else to see that this is beautiful, and how you carry yourself. So I think my process was just to also then visualize that, to make those guys look who they are, to make them cool, how they're walking, their hairstyles, what they were wearing, what they were doing, and yeah.
Okay. So before I move on to Tendi, I just want maybe one or two people from the crowd, if you have a question or something that you want to say, but maybe I'll pose a question. How many have heard of fashion films before today? Oh, okay. I can't count, but this is like, what, 10 people? Is it? Okay, interesting. Okay, and then someone with the comment question for our panelists before we move on? Okay, so.
There's one.
Oh, there's one. Sorry, I can't see your hand.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
It's not a question, it's actually a compliment.
Okay.
You guys have done a good job to portray African fashion, like the modern African person. They're not necessarily wearing a traditional wear every day, which some people like to portray out there. We're wearing normal clothes, but we're still keeping it African, and I love how you portray portrayed. It's amazing.
Okay, thank you very much for your contribution, and thank you very much. Well done. Well done. All right, so attendee, I'm on to you now. Tell me, as an actress, how much does fashion impact the character that you portray on screen?
Thank you for the question. Hi, everybody. Firstly, I'm just honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And again, congratulations to everyone who's shown their work. So, fashion, or what we call costume and wardrobe in filmmaking production, plays a huge role in placing the character in the world in which they're in, right? And I think we can all agree when we talk about fashion, what it is really. I know it's a very fashion, it's like, ooh, fashion. But literally it's just what we wear every day, right? And what we wear every day can represent our identities. So it can show whether a person is an indicator, basically. It can show, it communicates meaning. It can show whether someone has authority. Like if you're a judge and you wear that, wig and whatever, it shows that you're a judge in the courtroom. If you're a policeman, if you're a nurse, so what you wear basically can communicate meaning and identity, right? So even in film, we use wardrobe to communicate something. Sometimes a person might not even say any word at all, but you can already see, who they are just by what they're wearing. So even in real life, like that happens all the time, right? You'll see someone wearing something and it already communicates a meaning and identity and stuff like that. So for me as an actress, definitely it plays a huge role. Every character that I play, getting into costume really helps to place me into the world of the film and to really embody the character. I'll give some examples. I've acted in so many different things. But recently, I'll give 3 examples. There's the first one I'll give is last year I got onto this show that's going to be on Amazon Prime, and I have a very small role, but it was the first time I played a character that wears like this blonde wig. I had this blonde wig, and I was wearing like a little mini skirt, and I was like, right? But for me, that was like, whoa, like I've never acted in this way. And definitely when you're wearing the blonde wig and you're the miniskirt and some heels, it puts you into the mode of like, okay, yeah, I can do this. But on a normal day, probably I'm like, no, I don't want to do this. But it helps, right, to transform even the way you walk and everything, like heels and, the character, you're able to shape shift in a way. I also got the opportunity to be in my first international film, which is going to be on, again, Amazon Prime, and it's a Viola Davis movie. It's called G20.
Oh, nice.
And I was acting as a CIA agent, so an American CIA agent. And I had to wear like the suits, CIA agents wear suits. I was wearing a suit, I had the whole badge, again, accessories, like the wallet is an accessory, which is part of fashion. So I had a badge, I had a little, but everything helped me to be in that character, right? So I'm wearing a suit and those aviator shades or whatever, it looks really cool. But it helps you to get into character. Okay, I'll just give those 2 examples. Even now, as you see me right now, I cut my hair 2 weeks ago? 1 week ago. This is it's a fashion style, so it's a choice that I've made, right? To shave my hair. And that's also me communicating something maybe, or I don't know, whatever. Yeah, it does represent something to me. It's me being bold, it's me starting afresh. It can mean something to everyone. How you wear your hair, so everything plays a role, I think, not just in fashion, in film, but also in real life. So yeah, that's what I'll say.
So like my gloves?
Yes, what are you saying?
Maybe the audience can tell us. Yeah.
She misses Michael Jackson.
Okay, that's something. You know what? When I was young, I used to like this film called Wessel Gamage. And there was this character who's old enough to have watched Wessel Gamage here. Okay, we're speaking to a very young audience. Anyway, he was a scarecrow, okay? And he was in love with this porcelain doll called Aunt Sally. And Aunt Sally always used to dress so smart, with gloves and stuff. So I always said, when I was old enough and I had my own money, I would buy myself fancy gloves like Aunt Sally. So you see how film really impacted me. That, we watched this, I think, maybe 30 years or so ago. But, I still... Sylvia, I'm fond of unselling. But speaking of that, Tendi, thank you so much for raising that. You raised something quite interesting about actually having something important in film production, which is wardrobe. Joe, can you speak more to that? And also, how does wardrobe, like wardrobe budgets, etc., influence the way a film is made? I'm sorry if I have to speak in Shona to some. Mabero are just like clothes that we go and get at the market for representation, pre-loved clothes, or we also have to put in a lot of money for budgets to represent the way we want to. What are some of the limitations?
I think I'll start with how, when we started talking about fashion film, where my confusion came. Because as far as I'm concerned, fashion is a very big part of film already, right? Where it's like, let's say, whichever film we're making, like for the characters, you have to design the clothes. We even have someone called a costumes designer who's part of a film. And that's a really big chunk of the budget that goes into buying the costumes. Because imagine, like, let's say making a period piece, for example. You have to have, let's say it's a colonial era soldiers. You have to buy or make all those clothes because it contributes, like just what Teddy was saying. So I think it's interesting now that with this genre of like fashion films, and I can see where the difference is with defining the genre to say like fashion films, because fashion is the thing that's sort of like popping out the most in the film. But fashion, I think, is already married to film in a very big way, and it's something that we even consider, like you're saying, budget. It's a very big chunk on our spreadsheet when we're making films.
Okay. And Sylvia, so how would you leverage fashion film to showcase designs and build a brand? Maybe not so much delving on into film per se, but also if it's brand, because I think I heard Derek say it was a campaign that they then built around someone's album and it became a film. It went on to win an award. Yes, so maybe you can speak to that?
Yeah, I think fashion is very visual. It's impossible to sell fashion. I could, even if I had the best English and I described it on audio, fashion, you have to see it. And I think something that fashion film does, or video even, that still images don't show, is how the fabric flows, how it looks on a human being, on a model. So it's as simple as that. When you see that in a video, it's represented in a very different way than on still images. So it's very important. That's why fashion designers have to invest in video, not just still images. So yeah, it's very self-explanatory. Yeah.
All right. And Derek, what advice would you give to emerging filmmakers interested in working in the fashion film genre?
I think I would really encourage people to really interpret things how they see them. Sometimes we are always trying to obviously film something because we saw it being done by someone.
Yes.
But I really like what Kuda and Anaka did. They really just interpreted Mbare how they want people to see it, and I think I really love that. So I would encourage anyone who's a visual storyteller to really just push what they want, like what they want people to see, like how they see things.
Okay, so I've got an interesting question. So what pushes the other? Does fashion push the narrative, the story, or the story pushes the fashion? Maybe I'll give that to Kuda. Yeah.
I think in that case, it's the story that pushes the fashion.
Okay.
Because a lot of the times when people are coming up with their brands or their collections, they're mainly attached to a specific story that they're trying to sell with that collection.
Okay.
And then the story then comes from that. Yeah.
Okay. And Kuda just won at the Nama, so I think he deserves a big round of applause.
Outstanding poet.
Outstanding poet. Okay. Interesting. Good job, good job, good job. All right, any questions from the audience or comments? Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
So I'm a fashion designer, and in the fashion space, like what Sylvia was saying, a lot of campaigns are coming up with video content. So let's say I've got a campaign for a new summer collection that I want to bring out, and I want to interpret that or show people the visuals of the fabric, the movement, the colors, all of that, or in the lifestyle sense of how you can actually live or how you feel in your clothing. But the budgets, I think that is one thing we need to talk about. How can we collaborate with filmmakers or videographers for us to actually get our vision out there without really breaking the bank? I think I speak for a lot of fashion designers when we say that when we're coming out with a campaign, the first thing you need to think about is pictures, because you can distribute that to a lot of people, but the budget for film goes a little bit higher. So is there room for us to collaborate with filmmakers in a way that benefits both parties, but doesn't really break the bank for us?
All right, that's a great question. Thank you so much for that. Right, I'm going to say, how many filmmakers are there in the room? Just raise your hand, don't be shy. Even if you made one of your, yeah, okay. All right, and how many fashion designers do we have in the room? Okay, guess what? I have tea and coffees for you after this session. So you're all going to mix and mingle. Please go and speak to someone you've never spoken to. Filmmakers, because we are fewer, I expect to see you with 3 fashion designers on you. Okay? So that we can actually connect. This is how we connect, this is how we talk, and this is how we actually get to break those barriers. Okay? Because there's always something happening. There are always films being shot. There's always campaigns running. But it's because we don't know each other, and there's just that disconnect that we can break today. All right. Does someone else from the panel maybe want to pick on and answer a question? Joe? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a really great question. Where in Zimbabwe, right? I think people are not like well versed in understanding process. So when I say to someone, I make films. If you're a fashion designer, and if you have no understanding of the film process, you would think we're not connected, right? So, because when I'm making a film, I work with different artists, right? Like I'll get a costume. We actually have a person called, if you look at film credits, like every time you watch a film, all those names, those are different artists. We've got nothing to do probably with making films. They probably don't even know how to make a film, right? So there's need for that connection with filmmakers, right? Where to showcase, for example, like let's say your designs, we could be making a film with Tendi in it, right? And one big advantage that we have with films is that they travel, right? Like we can make a film that can travel literally the world at film festivals. And at those film festivals, you get people like I remember this one time when we did Cook Off with Tendi, right? This one white guy said to me, "Oh my God, I had no idea that people in Zimbabwe actually smile and know bacon, like eating bacon." But so at first I was offended by it, right? And then afterwards he explained, he's like, the only images that we know of Zimbabwe are you guys running from soldiers in the streets. So when he saw, he's watching Tendi smiling, he's like, that beautiful smile, I didn't even know people in your country smile. Like, it sounded weird, but for him, like that was a representation of a different representation that was transported by a film, right? So especially with fashion, like people can get to see how we dress, what we wear, you know, like, and I'm big on trying to push for like local, like even when we're making a film, local clothes, local music, local anything. So I think that let's try and find ways of engaging, you know, like in a probably in a separate platform where we're like, okay, we're making a film. I've even tried to make those efforts, like with designers, but a lot of the times I don't think they understand the world or what we're asking from it, because it's very taxing. Like if I say we need to dress up a character, Tendi's character, she's got 20 different looks, you know. So so like you're saying, the cost. But with film, a lot of the time we have a budget allocated for that. So but we end up just buying already made clothes. Yeah. So I think it's worth a conversation to say, okay, you're a designer, I have 10,000 bucks allocated for costume. Can you do this? Yeah. So
10,000 yes.
yeah.
So for 10,000.
But yeah, but I think let's start talking around that and including each other.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. I think we have an opportunity here, especially to get our Zimbabwean stories out there through fashion, through film, and it starts with collaboration. Do you have a question, a comment?
Yeah, actually, just to add to the statement that was just asked. I'm from Kenya, so I'm James.
Hello, James from Kenya.
And I've experienced something that I think people experience, but they don't expect it to be within, I don't know if it's within Africa. Like you're saying, there's a white guy who is not expecting Zimbabweans to smile. But also, it's my first time in Zimbabwe, and there's some things that I only saw on TV that are being, I'm like, none of what I'm seeing now is on TV. Like this, I'm just experiencing like a very new country that was shown to be very differently. And when you're talking about sharing stories through film and fashion through film, I think there's also a big opportunity to share across cultures. So we also have a problem where we don't tell our stories better, or not better, I think they have to do well. I think we don't tell our stories to each other.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you find something as small as one of our fellow designers who was coming from Lagos, goes from Lagos to Dubai, then has to come back into Africa. Then you find something like that happen now with stuff like fashion, where you get surprised by the quality and the talent that you find. Like the guys I've seen us displaying with, I'm just like, hey, should I put my things back in the bag? Like then with those guys also here displaying what they're displaying, it's just so rich, so every story is really good. But then you only see it when like you are there. Like if I was sitting in Nairobi, I would still be just knowing that Kenya really is only competing against maybe Nigeria. Yeah, you'd be thinking that. But because we don't have a lot of, okay, can I send my stuff to a photographer in Zimbabwe? Can I do my campaign there? Can I do a collection that's a Dianari collection? Collaborate with the designer there? Can we shoot everything there? I maybe don't have to go to the first people, but it's that way those kinds of connections can happen. Yeah. But I think it's more important, it's very important to tell our stories to each other and to tell them.
Okay. Yeah. So the question is now, how do we tell our stories to each other? How, and not necessarily physically meeting like this, but what are other ways that we can actually be telling stories to each other? Do we have maybe one last question?
So the question is just, hi, my name is Chikwama from Zimbabwe. I think when we're having the conversation, what I'm thinking is there's such a huge opportunity for us to cross-pollinate. But I think with the arts in Zimbabwe, we've been operating as silos. Hence our storytelling is not as impactful as other countries. So you find that you're talking about film, because maybe designers are charging $10,000 for the costumes. I'm just giving an example. It's not that deep. But I'm just saying that possibly the way we can fully tell our stories, and there's an opportunity, first of all, for collaboration amongst ourselves, but also if we want to have an impactful storytelling, we now need to start collaborating. Because yes, you can act and put out a Zimbabwean story, but then people are people by what they dress, by what they eat, by what they listen to. So that's why it's important that we also involve our music in it, our makeup in it. And the makeup is not the makeup, but the way our grandmothers used to put makeup on their faces, how we dress. So I think the responsibility then is amongst ourselves, even as designers as we're doing our fashion films. What music are we involving in that? Because yes, you can involve an American artist in music on your fashion film, but then you're not doing any justice to telling the story of Zimbabwe. So I think it comes back to us again to say, what are we doing about it? There's an opportunity to collaborate, but are we also exploring fully? Because people want to come on board on collaborations, if it's a win-win for everybody else. So we can create those platforms for all of us to win by collaborating, right?
Yes.
And fully telling these stories, because half the time our stories are 75% because the 25% is foreign stuff that we're putting ourselves. So yeah.
Thank you very much for such an insightful feedback. I'll take Tindy.
Yeah, sorry to add to the conversation. I'll speak about two things. The first one is brand placement, which I'm so passionate about. It's called product placement or brand placement. I'm so passionate about this. So basically, if you think about an American movie, you might see a Mercedes, you might see a certain watch, you might see, those are all, or Starbucks. I'm sure all of us knew about Starbucks before we even, for those who've gone to America. Before you even go to a place, sometimes you'll see the stuff in the movies, right? That's called product placement or brand placement. And I like what Gilma is saying because that's basically what, so sometimes you might not, it's deliberate.
It's not a mistake.
Exactly, it's not a mistake, it's deliberate. You speak to different people who own certain brands and you include them in your storytelling and narrative, right? So you might not come on board as a wardrobe costume designer, but you might place your brand in the movie. That's also an option, right? So that's the first thing I want to talk about. And then the second thing is I don't know if anyone's heard of the AfCFTA, which is the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, right? That is also in line with what my brother from Kenya was saying.
James from Kenya.
That's what, right now there's a huge push to basically remove barriers so that we can trade more and interact more and there's more mobility across African nations. It's like an EU but for Africa. So just think of, like, I love that you're saying that because I think there are so many ways in which we can collaborate more. And I'm absolutely, like, interested to see how the next few decades work because I'm sure all of you know that, Ghana, I think Namibia as well, or some specific African countries like Rwanda have already started to remove visas and stuff like that. So even amongst creatives, how can we leverage what the AfCFTA is trying to do in order for us to collaborate more? And that could be also, like, I think digitally, it doesn't have to be in person, like you said. In any way possible. I think, it's a great conversation to have. And please look it up because it's about policy. What I'm really, really passionate about is we can have a lot of, like, fantastical ideas, but on the ground, how does it actually work? How do I move across the border? Am I allowed to work in another country? Things like that. Like, there's so many policy works and regulations and, like, actual tangible stuff that we need to talk about as well as creators. It's not just about, I've got this amazing idea, but how do we actually tangibly, practically make it work? And I think those are also conversations we need to have as creatives. Just one more thing. The last thing I'll say is I was in a meeting for creatives that was organized by the UNDP. And someone from the African Union was in the room, and she said that the one problem that she's discovered about the creative sector in Africa is that we're not organized, and that we don't have representation at the highest possible places where decisions are made. So, for example, at the AU Summit, apparently there's no one from the creative sector who lobbies for our work across the continent. And that is a problem because we will always be asking these questions. How are we not collaborating? How are we not? Because the tangible, practical policies that move these things are not in place, and it's up to us to create that infrastructure and to actually make it happen.
You speak so eloquently about the AfCFTA. We pray and hope that you will be the one to go and lobby for us.
I am working on it.
Yay, good job. Okay. Derek, what are your parting words?
It's hard. I'll just say, let's go out and create. I know it's very cliche, but I really love this. Like, lately I've been seeing a lot of Zim creatives coming up.
Yes.
And like what Joe was saying, film is not just videographers with camera. It's a whole industry. And if everyone starts creating, we'll have so much better films out of Zim. So, yeah.
That's right. All right. Joe, your parting words?
Are we parting? Yeah.
Yes, we are. Parting.
I think initiatives like this are very necessary. In a lot of the times, we don't know each other. We don't know what exists in another industry like fashion. And I'm so glad in Zim fashion is booming. Like we're seeing it. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to collaborating fashion world and creating. So, yeah.
Thank you. Joy is looking forward to collaborating. Please collaborate with him. Sylvia?
I think let's be our own storytellers, whether it's through what we wear, through our art. I'm not a creative, but then sometimes when I meet creatives, they are shy to speak about their art. And I think, just as James said, the stereotype about Zimbabwe is basically based on
CNN.
CNN or memes and jokes on social media is giving Zimbabwe, and you know the stereotype is quite negative. But when you get here, you realize it's actually full of culture and really amazing people. So I think instead of waiting for other people to tell our stories, we should tell even on the most smallest micro level. As an individual, we should always tell our stories.
Thank you so much, Sylvia, for that. Kuda?
I think I really love what James spoke about. And you were saying that we really don't know each other's stories. And going back to the title for the panel, is weaving narratives.
Yes.
And I do think that the focus is always primarily on changing the narrative that the international audience has of us, but we're also not changing the narrative that we have of each other. So if we start refocusing on that, sharing each other's stories, and also consuming a lot of local content and local creative products.
Yes. Thank you very much. That's so true. We also have to be at a place where we also just are welcoming of each other's realities, each other's stories at local scale and at regional scale. Thank you very much for the session. I'm Cesar Mkwedini. I represent Makamba Film Labs for Women, where we also work with women in film and new media. And new media meaning that there's a big space for fashion, especially digital fashion. So you're welcome to also come and speak to us. Thank you very much. I think our time was short.
It was. I share your sentiments, but I'd like to say before we close up here, thank you to all our panelists, to the moderator, for them taking the time to come here and share their expertise with you guys. We appreciate it. I hope you guys took away some nuggets that you can also apply in your own journey, whether it's fashion or film or both, that it's something that will be meaningful for you. I'd like to ask you guys to just accept some feedback forms that we'll be handing out, because we'd like to get some insight from you guys on how we can also improve these sessions moving forward. So please take the time to do that after the session, and also take some time to mix, mingle, network, exchange numbers, collaborate, and start telling your stories. Thank you so much. Yes.